Hi everyone and welcome to today's ChinesePod lesson. I'm Joe.
Hi, 大家好，欢迎来到中文播客，我是庆林。
In today's class, we are going to go to the restaurant and we will talk about things that are maybe a little bit difficult for you when eating in the Chinese restaurant.
Joe, 你会用筷子吗？
Whether I can use chopsticks? Yeah, I can. 我会。你呢？
当然会。
Oh yeah, of course. Okay, so in the dialogue, you will hear the word for chopsticks.
筷子。
And you will hear the word for fork.
叉子。
So make sure you listen out for those two words and let's check out the dialogue together.
老板，一盘炒面。
好的，马上来。
你们有叉子吗？筷子很难用。
有的。
老板，一盘炒面。
好的，马上来。
你们有叉子吗？筷子很难用。
有的。
老板，一盘炒面。
好的，马上来。
你们有叉子吗？筷子很难用。
有的。
So we're having fried noodles today. Before talking about each of the sentences in detail, let's break down the conversation line by line.
老板，一盘炒面。
Hey boss, can I have a plate of fried noodles?
老板，一盘炒面。
Hey boss, can I have a plate of fried noodles?
老板，一盘炒面。好的，马上来。
Okay, it's on the way.
好的，马上来。
Okay, it's on the way.
好的，马上来。你们有叉子吗？
Do you have a fork?
你们有叉子吗？
Do you have a fork?
你们有叉子吗？筷子很难用。
Chopsticks are difficult to use.
筷子很难用。
Chopsticks are difficult to use.
筷子很难用。有的，
Yes, we do.
有的，
Yes, we do.
有的。
Our dialogue starts with the customer calling out the owner of the business and he's like, boss.
老板，
So this is very common in Chinese. Whenever you talk to the owner of a food stand or maybe the person who you think is the owner, you can just call him out like boss. But in English, this is more an equivalent to excuse me, sir, probably, because in English we wouldn't say boss unless it's your employer. So he's like, excuse me, sir.
老板，
And then he orders one plate of fried noodles.
一盘炒面。炒面。
So that's fried noodles. And then we have the words for one and plate in front of that.
一盘，盘，盘。
Remember that in Chinese you have to use so-called measurement words whenever you count things or order things. So here we have the measurement word for plate. But of course, noodles can come in different kinds of things. What would be other measurement words that would fit noodles?
一碗炒面。
Oh, like a bowl of fried noodles
一份炒面。
or a portion of fried noodles. So remember that you have to use one or the other measurement word when ordering. Okay, so what does the owner, the boss, then answer?
好的，马上来。
So here we have this okay, and then there's a how is okay. And then there's this little particle after that.
的，
And this we use to soften down the tone of something or to be a little bit more polite. So you'll often hear this in a more formal or a service environment. And then afterwards, he uses a phrase that I like a lot. And he says he is coming. And how is he coming?
马上，马上。
Which literally translated means on the horse. Like the first character is horse and then it's on top. So he's like arriving or coming on the horse because we have that other word here to come.
来，
So altogether it's coming on the horse. He's very quick back.
马上来。
And you can use this on the horse with various things. So for instance, you could say, I'm leaving on a horse.
马上出发。
So this would work, for example, if a friend or something is calling you and asking where you are because you were actually supposed to meet him, and you're like, okay, I'm on my way, I'm the horse out.
马上出发。
Or you could, of course, then say arriving on a horse as well, arriving immediately.
马上到。
This, for example, could fit the restaurant situation as well. When you order a dish, and then the owner is like, oh, it will come immediately. I'll bring it to you on a horse. It will arrive on a horse.
马上到。
Oh, yeah, that quick. And when you ask for more utensils or something, or an extra bowl, then he could say, oh, I'll give it to you immediately.
马上给你。
Oh, yeah, your horses are super quick. Okay, the customer then asks for some utensils because he needs a fork.
你们有叉子吗？
So here we find the word for fork.
叉子。叉子。
And the whole question is initiated by using the word for you, but in a plural form.
你们。
So here refers to the restaurant or all the people in the restaurant. Like, do you guys have? And after this, you guys or you, there's the verb to have.
有。
And then in the very end, there's the question particle here. So altogether, it becomes you guys have fork, question particle.
你们有叉子吗？
And the reason for his question is that he thinks that chopsticks are difficult to use.
筷子很难用。
So here we find again the word for chopsticks.
筷子。筷子。
And this then is followed by the word 很, which means very. And he says it's very difficult to use.
很难用。难用。
So if you look at this difficult to use in separate characters, we just have the character for difficult
难
and the character for to use.
用。
Actually, you can use the structure of 难, difficult, plus something with many other verbs as well. So for instance, you could say something is very difficult to write.
难写。
So I guess Chinese, for instance, would be a language that's very difficult to write with all those strokes.
中文字很难写。
Chinese characters are very difficult to write. Or German, for instance, is a language that is very tough to learn.
难学。德文很难学。
So here we have same 难 and 学 to learn. So it's difficult to learn. What would be some other things that we can find together with this difficult?
难看。
Oh,
电影很难看。
okay. Here the meaning actually changes slightly because if you look at those words, you have difficult and watch or look. So we have a movie that is difficult to look at. So this actually means the movie is not that nice. So it's unpleasant for the eyes. I don't want to look at it. And this works with other things as well. For example, listening to something, like difficult to listen to.
难听。歌很难听。
Like, this song does not sound nice to me. If you want to say that something is pleasant or that something is good to do, then you can use another adjective instead of this 难. What is the adjective we would use then?
好。
So you could say all those things we just said, but with 好. So we just had difficult to write, right? What was that again?
难写。
So easy to write would be
好写。
So what language would maybe be easier to write than Chinese?
英文字很好写。
Like with 26 characters, English is probably a little bit easier to write. Or easy to learn.
好学。英文很好学。
Or maybe not for everyone, but compared to German, I would bet it's a little bit easier. Or, of course, the same when we had 难看, like, oh, I don't want to, it's unpleasant for the eye. You can say something is nice or good looking.
好看。电影很好看。
Yeah, one person might think that that movie is not good and the other one liked it a lot. 好看. Or same with listening.
好听。歌很好听。
This song is very pleasant for the ears. It's easy to listen to. Sometimes the meaning can be a little bit unclear. So for instance, when you have the same with eating, and you say something is difficult to eat.
难吃
I had this experience that I say, oh, something is 难吃, and then they were like, wait, do you mean it's difficult to eat or do you don't like it? And then maybe sometimes it can be a little bit confusing what you mean, and you may have to specify that. So for instance, if you want to say that something is 难吃 but you mean difficult to eat, what could we say?
不容易吃
Not easy to eat. Or if you want to say 难吃 and you mean it's not tasty,
不好吃
not tasty. Yeah. So the customer needs a fork, and luckily the restaurant owner has one.
有的
So here we have the verb to have,
有
plus this particle expressing a general politeness.
的
So we had used this particle in the dialogue now on 2 occasions. The first one was when the owner said, okay.
好的
And another one was right now when we said, oh yes, we do.
有的
You may hear this de together with another verb sometimes as well, which is 是.
是的
Which would be a occasion where you could hear or use this?
请问你是李先生吗
Ah, okay. So maybe when you get to a restaurant and you want to confirm your reservation, the people may ask you, oh, are you Mr. Li? And then you could say, 是的. Yes, I am. After discussing all this and giving you all the details, let's check out the dialogue again.
老板，一盘炒面。
好的，马上来。
你们有叉子吗？筷子很难用。
有的。
老板，一盘炒面。
好的，马上来。
你们有叉子吗？筷子很难用。
有的。
老板，一盘炒面。
好的，马上来。
你们有叉子吗？筷子很难用。
有的。
In this class, we have talked about restaurants and horses, and no, we did not speak about horse meat, but you have learned how to say immediately, which is on the horse.
马上
And we have learned how you can say that something is difficult to use. So for example, we had the sentence, chopsticks are very difficult to use.
筷子很难用
And here we have to remind you that it is not uncommon to have restaurants or food stands in China that still offer only chopsticks and that don't have any forks, something as an alternative. So in case you really still don't know how to use chopsticks,
马上去练习
so go and practice immediately on the horse. If you have any questions on today's content besides on how to use chopsticks, let us know in the comment section below. My name is Joe.
我是庆林，下次见，
拜拜
拜。
Now, here's a vocabulary recap.
盘
Plate,
炒面
fried noodles,
马上
immediately,
叉子
fork,
筷子
chopsticks,
难用
difficult to use.
Introducing ChinesePod Recap, the app with fast summary lessons. How much time do you have? Join us in the beta program. For more info, go to ChinesePod.com/recap.